Hi, and welcome to the Rockton Software Rockton Auditor Demo. The first thing that I like to start off with before we get into the actual demo is to let you know that Rockton Auditor is a field-specific auditing tool. And what that means is that you can audit any field on any window across GP, as well as any third-party products that are dexterity based. We're going to get into that in just a moment, but keep in mind that you get to select the fields that are important to you. That's going to cut down on some of the data degradation that you might see in other auditing software solutions. We do have a built-in archive and purge feature that allows you to clean that data out of the system as it accumulates throughout the lifetime that you're using Auditor. So let's get started auditing a vendor. This is one of the most common audits that we get requests for, is auditing changes to vendor data. So things like the address, the check name, their banking information, anything like that, that is probably the number one audit that we get a request for. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to change some information on our vendor. So we'll go ahead and select one. And we'll pick one of our travel vendors. Let's grab Ace. Now I'm going to go through and make some changes. So we'll change that vendor check name. That's a big red flag. You don't want people messing with that. And we'll go ahead and we'll change the address. And the city. All right. So we have made 3 changes to this vendor's record. Now with each field that you change, you have a couple of options. The first option is that you can audit silently in the background, which essentially means that your end user is not aware that there was an audit happening on that field. They can complete their work just like normal. There's no flashes on the screen or anything like that. It's capturing that data so that you have it as a record, but they aren't aware of it. The second option is that we can require that end user to tell us why they made a particular change. And in this example, we're actually going to do both scenarios at the same time. So when I hit save, that is what is writing my audit to the Rockton audit log tables. And as soon as I do that, my auditor note maintenance window popped open. And this is specifically because I modified the vendor check name. Remember I said that one was kind of a red flag. So at this point, my end user is aware that they are being audited and they're required to tell me why they made this particular change. And it's possible to allow them to free text type whatever reason they'd like here, or they can select from a drop-down and you can put in your own list of predefined reasons why they might make a change to a particular field. So we're going to go ahead and say that we are doing a demo today. We're going to mark that change and apply that to the window. And as soon as that's done, that's all the end user's interaction is with Auditor. We're not trying to slow them down at all. We just want to get that little extra piece of information for you. Now, at the same time that that's happening, if you look down in the lower right-hand side of my screen, you're going to see an Audit Message Center notification that popped up. That is an additional option that you can select when you're creating your audits to let your audit administrators know that a sensitive field was just changed. An audit administrator is different than your SA user. We don't necessarily want those to be the same people, especially if you're trying to meet some SOX compliance requirements. but this will go out in real time. It'll pop up in their Dynamics GP if they're currently logged in, and it'll just let them know that, hey, this vendor check name table was just changed. You'll notice that that message kind of fades off into the sunset. That is going to save to a message center inside of GP that your audit administrators can access whenever they like. They'll each have their own message center. We also have the ability to send you an email to let you know that that change was just happened. All right, so now that the end user has completed everything that they need to do, I can go report on that as an audit administrator. You're going to find that the majority of the Rockton audit reports are held right inside of a GP standard smart list. So what that means is you don't need to create anything with Smart List Builder or Smart List Designer. Once you install Auditor, we'll create this Auditor folder for you, as well as these 3 subfolders. Audits are going to be everything system-wide that you've created. So regardless of what company you're logged into, because Auditor lives in the Dynamics database, by default, we audit all users and all companies. So you can see all of your information from wherever you're logged in. E-sign approvals is included with Auditor, and what that will allow you to do is to create a lock on a field, so just like that vendor check name, for example, and require someone to sign off on that change prior to the value changing. And this folder will keep track of who requested approval, who gave approval or denied it, and then any pending approvals that you might have out in your system. The last folder is security audits. We have one checkbox that you mark when you're initially setting Auditor up, and with that marked, we'll automatically track any changes to your Dynamics GP security. So that's going to be things like creating a new user, giving access to an existing role, or maybe creating a new role or modifying that existing role by creating new tasks. So all of that will be captured automatically. There's no setup involved, and you can go into that folder whenever you like and be able to produce a security audit report. But we're going to focus on the audits today. So I've expanded that folder, and you'll see that I have my little star as well as a few favorites. Now, when you initially start with Auditor, you're just going to have that star as well. Once you get comfortable with what your auditors want to see, maybe what your management team needs to look at, then you can start saving those searches as favorites as well and giving security to users based on what they should be able to see in GP. Let's click on the star and see what we've got here. Now, like I mentioned, we are going to be showing you all of your different companies. So you don't have to bounce between them in order to see what's going on in which company. You'll see that we've got this initially sorted by user ID. You can also sort by your dates, your companies, whatever works better for you. But when you pull this information in, you're going to hit your search button, just like any other smart list, and set the criteria the way that you want to view it. So let's say we just want to see changes that have happened in the system today. So I'm going to switch to my date column. It's equal to, and we'll grab today's date and hit OK. Here are the 3 changes that we just made to that vendor's record. And you'll notice that they're each broken out by the individual field name, going back to that field-specific auditing. So you can actually create a very granular report. If maybe you only wanted to see changes to the vendor check name, you could search based just on that criteria and only see those changes to the vendor's checks. Now, if we zoom in, this is what every audit is going to contain. You're always going to have a date and timestamp, so you know exactly when this change occurred in the system. The user is the ID that was logged in that made the change. We do show you the workstation. Unless you're using a terminal server or a Citrix environment, for example, then it would just be the name of that box. But otherwise, we'll show you the actual machine too. We show you the company and database the change affected. And then we get into some more information. So the type of audit this was. A table audit means that the change happened within GP itself. That end user made that change. It happened in the system. We also have the ability to create a SQL table audit. So if you have concerns about maybe an integration that writes directly to your tables, or a DBA that's running update, insert, delete statements in the back end, those can also be captured with Auditor, and you can change that type to a SQL table audit when you're creating it. The event type, we track 3 types of events: adding a new record to the system, deleting an existing record, and editing an existing record. So this just clues me in that I know that this vendor already existed in my system. My group ID is just the name that I've given this audit. We do show you the product. Remember that we mentioned we do audit your third-party applications as well. So if you're using, for example, a key to act or a collections management, maybe an E1 product, we would be able to capture those changes as long as they're dexterity based, and we would indicate which product was changed. Then we get into the field that was changed, the table that field lives in, the record key, so in this case, that's the vendor ID that we modified, the old value of the field, the new value of the field, and then any notes that you required that end user to include. If you didn't require a note, like with our address change, then this field just stays blank. But as you can see, this is a very concise snapshot of what things were before, what they are now, and why. To get this information out of the system, it's going to be just like your regular smart lists. You can print this, you can export it to Excel, you can send it to Word, create an Excel refreshable report, whatever works best for you. But the information is all right here in Smart List. We went simple and easy, which is the Rockton motto. So that is what the majority of your audits are going to look like. All right, so moving on, I'm going to show you a couple more places where you can do reporting within GP for those audits that we just did. So we're going to go back out to our vendor, and we'll pull them back up in the system. And we're going to go up to our additional menu. Now, this is something you're going to notice on all of the windows across GP, including those third-party product windows, that when you click on additional, you are going to see a view related audits added. Now, if you click on that, this is going to open up, and this is going to show me, in this case, 107 changes that have happened to this vendor's record from this window since I started auditing. So it's giving me kind of an at a glance, here's everything that's happened to this vendor. So I can see, when things happened, is there a trend happening? What's going on with these different vendors. So we can kind of come through and see, the last time this was changed, all the way down to today's changes. So here are the 3 that we just did today. We sorted this by date. So I get all that same exact information. There's that vendor check name. Here's where we change the address. And from here, we can zoom in and actually open up that audit inquiry window, that same exact view that we had from the smart list. We can view that right from the vendor's card. So if we look at this, this is the city field that we changed. You can see I don't have a note here, but we have all of that exact same information that we had with the vendor check name audit. So it's just one more place to get your information really quickly if you're looking directly at that vendor's record. This is going to be preset up on your card windows, so your customers, your vendors, your items, accounts, things like that. If you want to add it to, say, your transaction windows, that's really common. There's just a few rules that you need to apply to those windows. It's all outlined in our user guide, but that gives you the ability to, for example, follow an invoice. If you're looking in sales order processing and you want to see who's added a line to an invoice that's pre-existing maybe, or they've modified a quantity, something like that, that's all information that you can also pull into that view related audits window, and then kind of have that at your fingertips specific to the document that you have pulled up in the window. So that is one additional option for reporting, the view-related audits. Last place I'm going to show you is under the inquiry button. So if we go inquiry, you're going to see auditor, and you're going to see we have our journal voucher roadmap and our transaction lifecycle. We're going to look at the journal voucher roadmap first. And what this window provides you is an at-a-glance view of who created a journal entry, who approved it, and who posted it. You can always get this information from within Auditor as well, but we had a lot of customer requests saying, we'd like to see this in one place. We don't want to have to track the work, open, and historical tables. We don't want to put it on all of these different tables. Can we just get it in one view? So these windows were born out of those requests. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in a journal entry, and I'll actually do a range here. And I'm going to redisplay this. Now, the journal voucher roadmap is specifically for posted general ledger journal entries. So they do need to be posted for this window. I can see I've got a range here. Now I'm only doing a range of 2. If you wanted, you could do a range of 150 if you needed to do a sampling maybe for an external audit or something like that. But if I look across, I can see the journal entry number, the batch that journal entry was originally put in, who created that journal entry, who approved it. Now, I don't have approvals turned on, but this is the posting approvals within GP itself. And then ultimately, who posted that journal entry and the dates that those all happened. Now, if I want to do a comparison, maybe I'm trying to really hammer home to my end users that it shouldn't be the same person that's creating a journal entry that's posting the journal entry. I can sort through my different user comparison options. I can use one, I can use all 3, whatever I want to do. But let's say I want to just see where the created by user is the same as the posted by user. So I can redisplay this once I've marked my checkbox, and I can see here is a journal entry that Ryan created, but Ryan also posted. So I can kind of filter out the noise, so to speak, and be able to see that in one view. Now we're looking at this in summary information. We can also change our view to show the detail of this transaction. And this will include the information from the accounts that were hit, as well as those debit and credit amounts. You can also zoom back and actually go to the transaction itself. It'll pull you right into the transaction that you're looking for. And then all of this information can be exported out to out to an Excel file so that you can provide this to your auditors. You could also print this window too if you wanted to do it that way, but that export just gets that data out so that you can just hand it off nice and clean to your auditors. So the journal voucher roadmap specifically for posted general ledger journal entries. The other option, the transaction lifecycle, is going to be for your subledgers. And if we look up here, these are the subledgers that we're going to be covering. We have our sales order processing, our receivables management, purchase order processing, and our payables management. And these are going to hold that exact same information, only we're going to be looking at the subledger level. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up a sales invoice and show you what information we capture here. So in this case, you do have the option to include work open and history. So I've just got those default marked. And then the different types of transactions. So you can look at, both the invoices and the payments. It's completely up to you, whatever you want to put in there. We've still got the same filtering capabilities as far as setting in those ranges. So if you want to do a range by a document number, or maybe a specific date range that you want to look at, or a batch number, you can put all of that data in here and search based on that criteria. And then we can look at what's going on with this invoice. So we've got the document number. We know it's an invoice. I had this saved into my SA batch that I created. Looks like SA created the invoice. Shocker. SA also posted the invoice. So that, again, maybe that's a teaching moment. Then we get the customer information, the type of transaction it was, where is this document sitting today? So I know it's in history. I've got my original transaction sources, my doc date, my created date, my approval dates, my date posted, all the way to the GL. So my GL posting date is included in here as well. So I get a really nice look at everything that went on with this document. I can click back. Here I can see, what was on this document. If I need to, look at anything for training purposes, I can. And then this information can be exported as well. So we've got our little export options right here at the top. So just one more place that you guys can do reporting if that's something that you want to have access to. This doesn't require any setup other than turning on the option to track this. So you don't have to create any additional audits or anything like that. This will just start working. It doesn't work retroactively, so this isn't going to be a crystal ball into what happened to an invoice, 6 months before you had auditor. But this will give you that information going forward. So it'll just automatically start pulling that data in and holding it for you so that you have it for future audits. All right. Before we close today's demo, I just want to give you a quick example of how the approval works within Auditor. So this is the e-sign approvals that is included in the product. You don't have to purchase anything extra, but let's go back to our vendor and we'll pull ACE back up again. Now these approvals are field specific, so keep that in mind. It's not process specific, so this isn't going to require an approval prior to a posting, for example, or a voiding. This is, again, field specific, just like Auditor. So I have a lock on my EFT bank account. Real common where people, number one, they want to make sure that this is being audited. Maybe they want to require that note. That's totally fine. But maybe they need a little bit more security. So with this bank account number, I have this field locked. Means it requires an approval or a sign off for my user in order to make this change. And you can make that a user specific requirement. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to, let's just say we want to change it to 9999999. As soon as I attempt to tab out of the field, so I don't even have to try to click OK or get out of this, as soon as I hit tab, this box will pop open and say that I require an approval before I can make this change. Now, this is requiring an immediate approval, which means that my user has to either have SA plug in their password or they need to cancel out of this, and it's going to revert back to its previous value. We also have the ability to do a queued approval, which means that that change is essentially cached. saved, but it is not in effect until an approver gets a chance to get the approval made. And that end user then would be notified that yes, their change was approved, or no, it was denied, and then that change is active in the system. But in this case, I need an immediate approval. So I can see that I am SA, I'm the one requesting the approval. So I have to put in my own password, and this is just the password that I use to log into GP. I need to give it a reason. So again, we're going to say demo. And I need to pick from an approver. Now, currently, I don't have any approvers that are online. When we say online, we're looking for someone else that's logged into GP. Since I don't have anybody online, maybe I know that Diane or Ryan or Tammy, they're in the office. I could have one of them just come over and plug in on my workstation their password. So let's go ahead and we'll grab Tammy, and we're going to hit the approve button. So this means that Tammy has likely come over to my desk and said, yes, you can change that EFT bank account from this value to this 9999999. So I could plug in my password and approve this change. If I can't get Tammy to approve this, it is going to cancel out. It is going to remove the approval request and undo the change. So if I go back, you can see I canceled out of it. So it went ahead and it changed that value right back to the previous value. Let's say she is willing to make the approval. So we'll go ahead and we'll plug that information in. We'll do our demo. We'll grab Tammy. We'll approve it. So this is where it is actually sending me an email. I'm going to just cancel this because I don't currently have my email open, but I'm getting an email notification. Email was not sent because I'm not currently in my email. Let's cancel that. We'll say OK. We'll save that and we'll close. Now I'm going to go back to my smart list and I'll just give you a quick view of that e-sign approvals folder. So we have e-sign approvals here. Again, I have my little star. And we'll search this information. Actually, we've got a pretty short list here, so we don't need to. Let's sort this by our date. We can see that approval. At the same time I'm looking at this, there's my message center notification that Tammy approved a change to the EFT bank account. So I can let all my audit administrators know that that approval has gone through if that's something I want to know about. And I can see that that change has been approved. And if I zoom in here, our e-sign approval window is very similar. We have that date and time, the person that requested the change, the approver, that workstation, and the status of the change. So this was approved. We still keep track of that old and new value as well as those reason codes, but it's just another nice, concise snapshot. Looking at some of my previous changes, we've got a denied approval. We've also got a pending approval sitting out here. So if I zoom in on this, I can see, hey, this one hasn't been approved yet. If I was set to approve this change, I could actually approve it or deny it right here as well. So that would then capture that approval and allow me to make that change. So I just wanted to give you guys a quick view of how the approvals work. If you guys have questions or want more information on Auditor, please reach out to our sales team. We would love to get an expert in touch with you, and we'll be happy to answer any questions as far as how you create audits, or if you have questions on the reporting capabilities or anything else about our solution. Thanks so much for watching today. Have a great day, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.